posts are important. People are spending a lot of time on their phones and the internet, and we put a post up of one of our custom homes. It was a nice picture, super nice picture that our marketing coordinator took, but very simple, classy. Man, just blew through the roof. Nothing that I would ever say, but people just latched onto it. Like 2,600 views in a week or something like that.
And so, where's your business coming from now? Obviously, when you started, it was that quality work and the word of mouth and the referrals. Are you still is that still your main engine, or is there something else you guys are doing that's working to bring in business?
Yeah, it's still the main engine. You really have to worry about your social media these days. So we go to a lot of effort to make sure that that's um, uh, on track. Google, we use Angie's List and Yelp. I don't think you cannot be in those, areas and not have a great reputation. And because people are using that as referral now, right? Referral, when I started, was, the Jones and the Smiths were playing cards on Saturday night, and they referred their roofer, right? Or they walked over. Today, social proof, your reviews are referrals in some people's minds. They have changed, so you definitely have to watch that. Another big thing is make sure that your trucks, every single one of them, is just badged like no tomorrow. Trailers, signs. I can't tell you, especially if you're doing a good job in the neighborhood, right? They'll watch, they'll see, and just remember, they're all watching you every day. They're watching your guys. You're on TV, and so truck signage, for our lead source, is always number 3 or number 4 of what the people say. How did because we asked that, how did you hear about us, right? And so, it's like, it's some of the big stuff at the top, Google, this, that, but it's always trucks is the number 3 or number 4. So they're watching, right?
And I have to imagine that those are probably pretty solid leads too, right? From that aspect, right? Somebody finds you on Google, it's probably because they're searching and they're probably contacting you and maybe 3 or 4 others, right? But somebody that saw your truck, like you said, always watching, and I have to imagine that you've uh, you've disseminated that message to the rest of your company too, right? Because that's so important, and I think it's kind of overlooked a lot of the times. But you're on somebody's, especially when you're exposed like that, right? I mean, the electrician can go inside the house and you can't see his work. You know what I mean? The neighbor can't see the work that they're doing, but you as the roofer or the solar guy, you're out there and they're seeing exactly what you're doing, minute by minute, like you said, on TV. So I have to imagine somebody that calls in because they saw your truck is probably a pretty solid lead and pretty high close rate for you.
Yeah, they are high close rate. I mean, it's just short of a referral, because there's a certain trust that comes along with that, because they've seen your truck in the neighborhood 3, 4, 5 times, right? They feel confident. That brings them a level of confidence, right?
And that's where that close rate comes in, right? That confidence. And going back to the social media, right? I mean, somebody may find you on Google, they may call you and ask you for your price and ask you to come quote it, but I more often than not, they hang up the phone. They're looking at your website. They're looking at your Instagram. They're looking at all the other things to kind of see what kind of work you're doing, how pretty it may be, how real you are, how genuine you are. All those types of things are what they're looking for when they're looking at that stuff. And it may not be your Instagram may not be the reason why they called you, right? They may not have seen a reel or a post on Instagram and thought, hey, I need this guy to do my roof, but it's undoubtedly going into that decision making process once they have contacted you, or even before they did contact you. So I love that you guys are being deliberate about those kind of things. How long have you been doing that deliberately, and what was the impetus for it? Like what was that decision making process to be deliberate about your social media?
Oh, well, it came back to it. It's probably what you might call a character flaw on my part. I just want my customers to be happy, and so if like I hang on those reviews, and if I get anything negative in them, I take it very personally. And so it kind of goes back to, the reason for my name and, our purpose in this industry. Professional in any industry would want to make sure his customers are happy. So I think I just kind of by dumb luck and my nature fell into that. I just wanted to make sure that I had great reviews all the time.
Yeah. And do you guys have somebody that's 100% dedicated to your social media, be it your LinkedIn or your Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, that's responsible for kind of the maintenance and upkeep on that?
Yes, yes, you definitely need that, and you need somebody watching what else is going on out there. Posts are important. People are spending a lot of time on their phones and the internet, and we put a post up of one of our custom homes. It was a nice picture, super nice picture that our marketing coordinator took. But but very simple, classy. Man, just blew through the roof. Nothing that I would ever say, but people just latched onto it. Like 2,600 views in a week or something like that. I don't remember the exact, but it was incredible. So you just got to kind mix it up, right? Don't keep it being the same thing. Some uh, we had a website that we hired that took care of all this, but they got very like generic, right? And so yeah, you're getting posts out there, but it's not really real, right? Or exciting.
Well, and they don't know your business, right? I mean, somebody that's in your office daily, communicating with your employees and working inside your business, they know what you guys are, and they know what your values are, and they know what is important to you guys. So it's easier for them to kind of portray that, right, and show who you are and what you do and why you do it. Whereas somebody, a firm, you can talk to them all you want and tell them as much as you can, but at the end of the day, they have a box, they have a cookie cutter the way that they do business, and they may try, but at the end of the day, they just don't know who you are. They're not one of you for sure.
Right? Yeah, they don't have the culture, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, do you guys actually? So I love the mentality, right? Because it sounds like you're using Instagram and Facebook and Yelp and some of those other things. Maybe not so much Yelp or Angie's List, right? Those are actually probably there specifically to get incoming phone calls, right? But
Yeah, they're lead aggregators, right? Really. Whereas the other is social media marketing, right?
right, and branding, right? I mean, and I love that you've kind of just differentiated those two, right? Because I feel like a lot of contractors who may not be in social media as much or are just now getting into it see it as, hey, I use Yelp and Angie's List, and this is where I get leads from. Maybe I'll step into LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, and I should be able to get leads from those too. But they're two separate, right? It's marketing and it's branding, and maybe it doesn't need to actually create a phone call for a lead for you, but as we spoke about before, it's undoubtedly going into that decision making process at some point.
Right. Yeah, it's the long game, right? You got to have play all the games at the same time. Lead aggregators, your Angie's, your Yelp, modernize some of those other ones. They're going to get you leads right now. Your social media marketing, some of your other marketing stuff is going to be long term, and you just have to constantly do it at the same level. Pick your level and do it for a long time, and it will pay off over time.
Yeah, and the consistency, right? That's the key, right? I mean, you got to be consistent and deliberate about it for like you said, a long period of time. Can't be where hey, I posted last week. Why am I not getting a bunch of phone calls? Right? I mean, well, you didn't. This is the first time you posted in 6 months. People don't know who you are. Yeah, no, that's. I love that you guys have kind of been able to realize that that's how this works and handle that. And you're doing it in house too, right? With somebody specific. A lot of guys try and just do it on their own when they have time, but like you said, that leads to some inconsistency and not necessarily being able to do it long term.
Right, and yeah, like you said, the consistency, and a lot of times going back to getting the phone to ring. When you're first starting out and you're trying to do some of these different things, you got this level of, I need leads, and so, social media marketing doesn't necessarily just make the phone ring right away. So not to give up on that, because it will help your brand down the road.